Hello, Cross Beyonders, and welcome to another episode of Anthony's Asylum. I am your host, Anthony, and I am owner and CBEO, not CEO, but CBEO, which is my own little version of a CEO. But my title technically is Crossing Beyond Executive Officer uh, of a company called Cross Beyond. It is my movie production company, and so hey, look, we're here. At least I'm here, and this is my second episode of Anthony's Asylum. I am actually using a different microphone than I was last time. I hope that you guys can hear me a little bit better. Again, I am recording this at night, in the wee hours of the night. I don't know if that's a thing. While my kids are sleeping, everyone's pretty much asleep, and I'm in my office. Because this is pretty much the only time I can do it. So, yeah. Anyway, like I said, I am hoping to do these shows weekly. It is a podcast where I basically talk about the things that I love. As I mentioned before, I'm the owner and CBEO of a company called Cross Beyond. I'm also a filmmaker, indie filmmaker, and a videographer, so I do commercials and weddings and that kind of thing. But I make short films and do a lot of writing, write scripts and shorts and all kinds of stuff. And I'm working on doing a feature very soon. So all of these things I do lead to, having a career, obviously, making big movies down the line, so... But this podcast is something for me to kind of talk to you about the things that I love. I love movies, so I'll be talking about movie news. I love video games, so I'll be talking about video game news. I'll also be talking about movies that I love, video games that I love, that kind of thing, video games that I'm playing. I have a Twitch account as well that I just started getting into. I've been playing video games for a long time, but I just recently opened a Twitch account because I was like, oh, cool, I got a PS4 and I can automatically broadcast from there pretty easily, so it became kind of a no-brainer. But movies, like I said, I've watched movies. I've watched movies ever since I can remember really. So, and love talking about them. And then I also want to talk a little bit about tech news, things like that. Maybe give you guys some filmmaking tips. So yeah. But like I said, anyway. Sorry, I go off on tangents sometimes, but I created this podcast to, as a means for me to kind of help support my indie filmmaking goals and that sort of thing. So I do have a Patreon account. I do want to mention that. So I'm broadcasting this on SoundCloud and iTunes and Patreon. I'm also going to start putting it on my YouTube channel for those of you interested. And I am on Facebook and Twitter and Google Plus and that kind of thing. I will put all that stuff in the description. So anyway, let's just jump right into it. My movie news this week involves a rather surprising split, I do have to say. At least for me. But I know a lot of people are talking about it. Maybe it's something that you're not interested in, but it kind of hit me suddenly and very surprisingly. And it's the Ben and Jen split. The Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner divorce. That I honestly have to say, I know with Hollywood couples, that kind of thing, it's kind of like, okay, big deal, right? Because a lot of the time it is like that. It's just kind of like, oh yeah, of course they're getting a divorce, or of course they're not staying together, or of course they're, it's kind of commonplace. But for some reason with Ben and Jen, man, I don't know, that for me came out of left field. And maybe it's because, well, let me just start with let's talk about the movie Daredevil 2003. Everyone's favorite superhero movie, right? No, God, no, but there was this thing. It was actually, yeah, back in 2003. That's right. My girlfriend at the time, who is now my wife of almost 11 years this August. So, wow. But anyway, my girlfriend at the time, it was kind of the perfect Valentine's Day movie to see. Because I think it came out around Valentine's Day, or maybe it was Valentine's Day. I don't remember. But it was definitely 2003, and it was one of those movies. I mean, it was a comic book movie, and I'll watch anything. I mean, that's the biggest thing with me, is you'll soon find out, is it doesn't matter how bad it is. If there's a superhero in it, or it's some kind of sci-fi fantasy thing, I'm pretty much there watching it. Obviously, it's great if the movie is good, but it really doesn't have to do much except, just be a sci-fi fantasy movie or have superheroes in it or something, But anyway, though, yeah, so Daredevil, I mean, now I can't watch the film. I do have to admit that. I actually tried, because I got it on Blu-ray a couple years ago again, and I was like, oh, cool, because I don't think I ever bought the movie. I may have had it on DVD or something, or I don't remember, but I got rid of it. And then I saw it a couple years ago, just really cheap on Blu-ray, and I picked it up thinking, oh yeah, I had fond memories of this. But then I put it in, and I couldn't really watch it. I was like, God, this is terrible. And yeah, and then I think I got rid of it again, because it was just, okay, yep, done. The Daredevil is just not an acquired taste, I guess. It's, at least that version of Daredevil. The new Daredevil on Netflix is fantastic. And yeah, heck yeah, man. Watch that if you haven't seen that. If you have Netflix and you're into superheroes, even if you're not into superheroes, watch that series. It is amazing. It is well written, well directed, well acted. It totally, it just erases the bad memory that you have of the original Daredevil movie. For sure. It just goes above and beyond, and really showcases how well that character and the characters in the Daredevil universe, I guess, do, how well they do in that format, in the TV format. I think it just worked excellently for that. But anyway, like I said, I go off on tangents, so there I went again. But anyway, so yeah, it was, and one of the things, honestly, like, okay, the movie is pretty junky, right? I mean, it is. It's a piece of trash, right? For the most part. But the thing that I found endearing about it, regardless of how bad the story was and the acting and that kind of thing, was the romance, the chemistry between Ben and Jen. Of course, Ben Affleck played Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil, and then Jennifer Garner played Elektra Natchios. And she becomes the infamous assassin or whatever. And of course, that's really the core of the movie, is this sort of love story that's formed, the love that's formed between the two characters. And yeah, I mean, that was the one thing to me that really worked in that movie, was that sort of chemistry. And it was one of those things that kind of stuck with me. And then you find out like a year later, oh wow, they're actually together and that kind of thing. And it was like, I don't know, it just kind of was kind of a sweet thing. I don't know, but so they got together, I think it was a year later, and they got married or whatever. And yeah, and I think one of the things that like I said, endeared that couple to me was the fact that they were always very private, and I think that's sort of the thing that separates the Hollywood couple from sort of the regular couple, because I think in real life, or me being a married man, that kind of thing, I mean, I kind of understand these things, in terms of you know being very public or open about certain things, can in a way be damaging, and I've seen that happen with other couples that my wife and I know. um, and then of course in Hollywood, I mean, that's like the biggest platform right there, you know what I mean? When you're in Hollywood, it's like everyone can see what you're doing, and that's kind of the point of it, and that's kind of what these actors are willing to put themselves through. They, due to their actions, I guess, for lack of a better term, but being actors, being whatever, they have made themselves public figures, and so they are under the watchful eye of the public. They are under scrutinization in a way that normal people aren't. But that is something that they have undertaken themselves, so they are aware of that kind of thing, and it's kind of like, you know, um, how our society is. So I'm not saying that's a bad thing or whatever, but what I admired about Ben and Jen was that they weren't, or didn't seem to be, that type of couple. It wasn't like Tom Cruise and what's her face, Katie Holmes, Tomcat, I guess is what they were called. Where like everything that they did like was publicized, and like, just, yeah, I was like, what? Like, who cares what they're eating today? That kind of thing. It was like, God, I don't know, and I liked that about Ben and Jen. It was, you didn't hear much about anything, and that was fine with me. And it's not like I was like following them closely or anything. It wasn't like, oh God, what is Ben and Jen doing today? But I don't know. It was something that was like, oh, cool, And whenever they were kind of in the public, it was like, doing something together, like, or some kind of charity thing, or they were being nice to these people over here, or they were doing, you know what I mean? Like, it was just like very sort of, oh, kind of moments. But, so yeah, I don't know, like, that news of the split, just was like really surprising to me. And I don't know if it was as surprising to everybody else. I mean, it seemed to be. It seemed to make the rounds everywhere on all the news, outlets and whatever. But I haven't really seen much, about, like from friends and that kind of thing, or on Facebook, or more personal accounts that I know and that kind of thing. I haven't seen much chatter about it. But I don't know. Like I said, it just kind of was like, wow. And I felt like I needed to talk about it. And just kind of, I don't think they really revealed what it was. And I don't think they need to. I don't think that's important, obviously. But, I mean, I just read a thing though where they're being pretty cool about it though, and I like that, kind of part of me is like, well, why don't they just stick together? But, obviously their problems are their own, and we may never know what is really going on and whatever. And like I said, we don't really need to, and it's their right to keep that to themselves. But like I said, I just read like a thing. They just went on vacation, and they're planning on co-parenting and that kind of thing, and just kind of staying in the same house that they've been in, just kind of for the sake of the children and that kind of thing. And like, if they're sane people and good people, I can definitely see that being a benefit, especially to the children. I actually come from a family of divorce. My father and mother didn't make it. And it was pretty late in my life, my sister and I's life. I was getting ready to go to college and getting ready to get married and that kind of thing, when they decided on the split. And so it didn't really, I was kind of like, I mean, I was sad, obviously. It kind of sucks now, that I have kids, and it's, this really split kind of stuff. I mean, but anyway, I don't want to go too much into that, not now anyway, but but it's one of those things. I think if your kids are really young, it can kind of affect them, and I like that they're kind of sticking together. And there's a lot of couples that have been starting to do that too, which is interesting to me, because it's like, well, why are they splitting to begin with then? I don't know. Like, I feel like if you really want to split from somebody, you wouldn't really want to be around them. You wouldn't want to really be their friend still or whatever. But I don't know. Maybe there's something there that like keeps them together. If they can still retain that friendship. I mean, I guess that's admirable. And really shows growth and that kind of thing. So, but speaking from personal experience, I have a niece who, like I said, don't want to go into too much detail, but just to kind of correlate, I guess I have a niece who, she's 6 years old, and her parents recently divorced. But the mother was just crazy and insane, and so unfortunately, but yeah, for the parents to be co-parenting and staying together just for the sake of the child, in that case, I would say no. But for somebody who seemingly is, psychologically sound, like hopefully Ben and Jen are, I mean, I would assume so. They're being amicable about it and saying, hey, let's co-parent, that kind of thing. I mean, that would be ideal, I think, and I could see the benefits in that, just to kind of keep the house from falling apart and keeping the kids safe and secure. I think that would be the number one thing with that. So anyway, like I said, really wanted to mention that and just kind of talk a little bit about it. If you guys have any thoughts or comments you want to add, please do so, and just let me know. But I'm going to be moving on now to some video game news, and I wanted to talk a little bit about Destiny: The Taken King. I know it was announced a few weeks ago at E3. It was either at E3 or maybe it was a little bit before E3. But anyway, yeah, for those of you who are Destiny fans, yeah, right. Is this good? Is this bad? I don't know. Honestly, I was a Destiny fan. This is where it gets weird, okay? I started Destiny. I bought Destiny back last year. I was a little late to the party. I didn't get it at launch, but I got it, I believe, in November. So I was a couple months behind. And I got it for PS3, which is very odd and very weird, but that was the system I had at the time. And I was like, oh yeah, the last great game for PS3 is coming out, so I got to get it. Little did I know, I was going to get a PS4 right, shortly after that. Well, I got my PS4 in March, so it was, 5 months later. But anyway, see, I go off on tangents. Sorry about that, guys. But Destiny, yeah, I got it. I immediately loved it. Was playing like crazy. And then just kind of stopped playing. I just kind of was like, nah, I'm done. This was on my PS3, and I stopped, I think, maybe like a month after I picked it up. And, due to just different things like time, and there were other games that I got interested in and that kind of thing. And just kind of stopped playing it, and stopped playing it for a long time, actually, until recently. Like I said, I got my PS4 in March, and then heard about, there was the expansion 1. I don't remember when that came out, but that was the first expansion, and then expansion 2 came out in April. Kind of got me interested again. I was like, what is this? And then the announcement for, the Taken King and all the new stuff, and was really what got me back into it. And then I ended up getting it for PS4. I was like, well, I got the demo for PS4 and started getting into it. And then I was like, why is this better on PS4 than it was on PS3? Which seems like a really stupid question, actually. But I was just like, whoa, like I was blown away again. Like, kind of like when I first got it for PS3, but I got it for PS4, and then I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. And of course the resolution is higher, because you're able to actually play it at 1080p resolution at 60 frames per second, whereas the PS3 version is 720p at 30 frames per second. So just think about that for a second. Like, that alone is already like, wow, holy crap, this is just, heads and tails above anything you could have ever played on the PS3. And I think that was already, like, that was the first thing that got me hooked back into it. I was like, holy crap, this looks amazing. And it plays amazingly well. And I like the DualShock 4 controller a lot better than the DualShock 3. I can't even go back to the DualShock 3. Like, when I do, I'm just like, holy crap, I can't hold this thing. But I love the PS4 controller. It's just fantastic. So that definitely helps, with shooters and that kind of thing. It's just way more ergonomic and just fantastically designed. I mean, that controller is, yeah. But anyway, so I'm getting back into Destiny, and then, with the Taken King, and I'm definitely looking forward to that. But the issue with that was, I guess there was an interview that Luke Smith, the creative director of Destiny, did that kind of pissed off a lot of people. And, it was basically saying, just, for fans, I mean, for longtime fans, like, if you are, please let me know how you feel, because, like I said, I just got it again. I got the entire pre-order, Destiny the Taken King pre-order, just, last week. So I bought the whole thing because I didn't have it for PS4. I played it on PS3, but I couldn't obviously transfer over to PS4. Because I think they had like a cross buy or something, but you have to get it digitally, and I didn't originally get it digitally. I got the hard copy. But anyway, I just recently bought it. I thought it was a great deal. I also had like a $20 gift card, and so I ended up picking it up for like $60 or something. But you get Destiny, then you get the 2 expansions, and then you get the Taken King when that comes out in September 15th, I believe. And then you get a bunch of goodies. You get some new gear, some armor, all that kind of stuff, and some emotes and whatever, right? But the issue was, for people who have been playing the game since launch, so we're talking last September, for people who are just like hardcore into this game, they've bought Destiny, they've bought the expansion 1, they've bought expansion 2, and now they're like, oh crap, yes, I want to get Taken King, but I also want to get all the goodies. Right? So you'd assume, hey, they're going to offer some kind of thing for these longtime fans, for these people that are loyal to Destiny and have been loyal since last year. They're going to offer some goodies, right? Apparently not. I mean, I haven't seen any new news, but Luke Smith, according to Luke Smith, in order to get those goodies, you have to buy Destiny the Taken King, the full thing, essentially. I guess the whole bundle with Destiny, Expansion 1, Expansion 2, and the Taken King, in order to get these goodies, which seems wrong, obviously. I mean, nobody in their right mind, if I already had Destiny and the 2 expansions, I'm not going to buy them again just to get those goodies. There's no way in hell. Sorry, Luke Smith, but there's no way in hell. So I feel for these people. I mean, obviously, I didn't go through that, so I'm going to be getting those. But I feel like there is some kind of incentive that they should give these players who have been playing for so long. And I guess they're working on something. And that's the last I read about it. He did come out and apologize for the interview and that kind of thing. And because he did seem really standoffish, with the guy who was interviewing him. And it just seemed really like, wow, like, I don't know, like he didn't care and just was like, oh yeah, you guys are going to just pay whatever you want, whatever we want you to pay for these things. And it's like, it's not really how you talk to your fan base, So, but I don't know, like I said, there I guess is going to be something. I know that they're releasing the Taken King as a separate thing for like $40, which makes sense, obviously. It seems like a pretty hefty expansion. I mean, obviously, I don't know, like, to me, I don't know if it's, a lot of people are saying $40 is probably a little bit too much too, but when you think about, it's essentially the sequel to Destiny, right? I mean, that's what I would say. I mean, it's essentially that. I don't know if it really is that, and that's probably why they're not calling it Destiny 2. But, what I've heard and what I've read, it seems like a really hefty new chapter in the Destiny story. So, I don't know. I think the $40 is pretty fair, but like I said, for people who already have the game and the expansions, they really should throw in those things for free. I mean, don't even put it as like a purchase thing. You know what I mean? Like, even if people who who are not going to get the Taken King now because it's like, well, this is bullshit. I'm not going to pay for this anymore. Because I mean, he probably turned off a lot of people, and I know he did based on what, came after what he was saying. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. They should really just honestly don't even mess around with that at this point. Like, I think he's already pissed off enough people to kind of just apologize and be like, all right, hey, you know what? For all you people who have been playing Destiny since the beginning, here you go. Here's your emotes and here's your armor and here's your gear. You guys deserve it because you guys have been there, And I guess supposedly they're doing some kind of VIP rewards thing, which I don't know, is cool, but we'll see where that goes and how that goes and whatnot. But anyway, like I said, I'm really into the game now. I'm really enjoying it again on PS4. I'm looking forward to the Taken King, as somebody who, kind of fell away from the series and am coming back now. I really see the benefit on playing on a new gen console. And to me, like, yeah, I mean, when I got the bundle, it was like, wow, this is totally worth it. So, but we'll see. I mean, hopefully they'll make amends, with it. But, anyway, like anybody who's out there who has played Destiny since the beginning, please let me know how you feel about it. And if this affects your purchase of the Taken King, are you going to get it? Or are you not going to get it? Or are you just, done with Destiny at this point? Or is it just something you can't put down and just want to continue playing regardless of price or, what the creative director may say? I mean, I don't know. Just let me know. And then I wanted to kind of move into a little bit of tech news. Just very briefly, I want to talk a little bit about Apple Music. That was just unveiled a couple days ago or last week, with a new update for iOS. I believe it's iOS 8.4, maybe. Don't know for sure. I actually myself have not updated, and I am an Apple user. So just to let you guys know, I use all Apple products for the most part. I do, like I said, for my indie filmmaking business and my movie production company, I use Macs and I use Final Cut Pro and that kind of thing. So for me, that's king. But I also have an iPhone and iPad, that kind of thing. So, but anyway, I have not used Apple Music myself. I do have it updated. I guess I have it on my Mac now because I updated that. So I haven't tried out the new services to see, but it's interesting to me that Apple is doing a 3-month trial. I mean, that's crazy, a 3-month free trial. So I may check that out. And it's what I really wanted to talk about was how they were kind of like, I don't know, I guess Taylor Swift came out of nowhere and said, hey, you got to pay us for our music. Or, she pulled her album and all this other stuff. And, she did it to Spotify as well. And I guess a lot of other artists were doing the same thing. But I found it just very interesting that she came out with this statement. And then I think a couple days later, Apple was just like, okay, sure. Yeah, we'll pay you guys during the 3-month free trial. I don't know. It just seems like, wow, musicians have a lot of power and they have a lot of clout. So that was really interesting to me. And I wanted to kind of get people's thoughts on that. Like, do you think it's justified? Obviously, I think, being an artist, being an indie filmmaker, that kind of thing, I don't think it's right to give anything away for free. I wish I could, and I wish I could live off of that and thrive, and, money wasn't an object and that kind of thing. But obviously the reality is, we need to be making money, and we, I think, should be paid for our art, regardless of what it is. I mean, art is of worth to somebody, and whoever feels that it is of value or of worth, should be willing and able to pay for that, and music is no different, obviously. But wow, she has a lot of power. And it seems like a lot of those musicians do. So I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that. Like, is that something that is surprising? Do you think it's good? Do you think it's like, she has too much power, she has too much clout, she has too much, I thought it was, like I said, I think it was a good move on Apple's part to do that. But, we'll see. I mean, I kind of think they should have just done it out of the gate instead of having to be threatened by Taylor Swift, because that made them kind of seem like wusses, but but yeah, so there it is. And then I briefly wanted to mention Film Courage. I'm trying to keep these podcasts to around 30 minutes. I don't really want to go over that, and it looks like I'm about to hit that. So, but I want to talk a little bit about Film Courage, and they're a really cool indie film outlet. They have a channel on YouTube. I think it's just Film Courage. They're on Twitter at Film Courage, I believe. Probably on Facebook and all these other places too. But I will include a link to in the description for these guys. But just check them out if you're at all into indie filmmaking or just filmmaking in general. They are really, it's exactly what their namesake is. I mean, Film Courage. They give you the courage to make films, essentially, to be a filmmaker, to be an indie filmmaker. And they just pump you up. You know what I mean? There's inspirational stuff from other filmmakers and writers and all kinds of stuff. They have interviews with people, and they just give you like these cool little, it's like a pat on the back type thing. Hey, you're doing a good job, and I don't know. It's a good place to check out though. If you are kind of needing that boost, if you're in a slump, or if you're like, oh man, I'm never going to be able to write this script, or I'm never going to be able to make this movie. There's always a way to make that happen. I've been there so many times. But as a famous chaotician once said, life finds a way, right? So anyway, I want to thank you guys for listening. This has been the second episode of Anthony's Asylum. Like I said, I am hoping to get these out weekly. New episode weekly. Yep, you heard it here first, guys. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening. And once again, I do want to mention I have a Patreon account, or a Patreon page. And I have a Facebook page, Google+. I am on YouTube. I'm going to start putting these podcasts on YouTube. For those of you interested, I will include all the links to my pages in the description. And yeah, like I said, thanks for tuning in again. This has been Anthony's Asylum. I am your host, Anthony, signing out.